I actually created work-life balance years ago, and I had created this whole thing and this exercise, and I was like, after creating it all, I'm like, wait a minute, balance doesn't make sense. Honestly, there's seasons of life where I'm pouring way more into my business, and I have to communicate with my family. Look, guys, I'm going to be a little absent right now. I may miss a ball game or two. I got to be traveling. That's not balance, right? And there's times where my son plays tennis in college. I'm going to be away from my business and I'm going to go do that. To me, that's harmony. That makes so much more sense. But it took me to stub my toes and bang my head a few times to go, that's not balance, man. It's never going to level out. It's going to be harmony. It's something that you have to ebb and flow with. And then ultimately, like I said, communicate, because it's never perfect.
It's the counterbalance and making sure that depending on the season, you can be there and do the best job that you possibly can as a parent.
We have these visions what our life's going to be, and it's going to be, I'm playing golf every Sunday. Look, that's that in that season of life, once the girls are done, perhaps. But right now, I know what that schedule looks like. But you know what? That's life. That's harmony. That's what's happening right now. Embrace all of it. And so it's one of those things, Josh, where it's, one thing you didn't ask the question, but I guess what I want people to hear is enjoy every moment of it, be present with it, because I promise you, whatever is driving you crazy in this moment, next year, you probably do anything to have that time back. And yet it's just funny how we get so caught up in having it perfect, having it look a certain way. Well, that's just not the way it works, man. So I think that word harmony is just, find harmony in your life and go with it.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and this is your podcast for inspiration, impact, and leadership. Today will be no different, and let me set the stage for you here as well. I got a great guest with us today, but before I introduce him, I want to talk to you a little bit about YouTube. Most of our listeners are listening via Apple and Spotify right now, and we are blowing up on YouTube currently. And I just want to say that subscribership wise, we are 49 subscribers shy of 1,000. So for you audio listeners, just hop over, subscribe, hit that bell notification, do us a favor, because we're pouring impact into you. And if you want to see my ugly mug a little bit more, you can check that out on YouTube. But that being said, let me introduce our great guest here. JM Ryerson helps leaders and teams excel through winning cultures, mindset, mastery, and practical strategies. As a leadership and performance coach, international speaker, and host of the Let's Go Win podcast, he has spent over 20 years building thriving companies and elite sales teams. Through his signature Win From Within coaching program, JM empowers professionals to achieve true work-life harmony, doubling revenue while creating engaged teams and meaningful relationships at home, the most important spot. The co-founder and CEO of Let's Go Win and author of 3 best-selling books, JM is on a mission to help people unlock authenticity, lead with purpose, and win in business and life without burning out. So I'm so excited for this conversation because we have so many similarities. Our missions are so similar. And our podcast, it sounds, as we were talking this morning, sound very similar as well. JM, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was laughing because literally it does sound like we're operating almost the exact same stuff. Just, you're in Wisconsin, I'm in Florida. So I love connecting with like-minded folks, man. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. And I love that you said work-life harmony in your bio, because I'm very intentional about that as well. In my brand new book, The Kairos Code, I was dispelling the myth of work-life balance, and not because I don't believe it exists, but because what it does to people mentally is they think it's a 50-50 split. And there's just no magical day or season of our life that it's 50-50. So integration, harmony, far more attainable to think through in that lens.
Yeah, brother. I actually created work-life balance years ago, and I had created this whole thing and this exercise, and I was like, after creating it all, I'm like, wait a minute, balance doesn't make sense. I mean, honestly, there's seasons of life where I'm pouring way more into my business and I have to communicate with my family. Like, look, guys, I'm going to be a little absent right now. I may miss a ball game or two. I got to be traveling. That's not balance, right? That's heavily poured into that. And there's times where, my son plays tennis in college. I'm going to be away from my business and I'm going to go do that. To me, that's harmony. That makes so much more sense. But it took me to, stub my toes and, bang my head against the wall a few times to go, that's not balance, man. It's not, it's never going to level out. It's going to be harmony. It's something that you have to kind of ebb and flow with. And then ultimately, like I said, communicate, because it's never perfect.
That's right. That's right. In fact, I heard someone bring it up, and I can't give them credit right now, so I'm just going to use it because I don't remember who said it. But counterbalance is the more appropriate thought process, because just like you said, the seasons of life that you're in, I've referenced with my business owners and coaching clients recently, like I don't pick my girls up; they're competitive dancers, 14, 12, and 10 till 9 or 9:30 every weeknight. So even if I was doing the proper job on the work front to get home at a decent time, I still don't get to see them till 9 or 9:30 because of their schedules. So it's not balanced either way you look at it. It's the counterbalance and making sure that, depending on the season, that you can be there and do the best job that you possibly can as a parent.
Yeah, man. And you just gave me insight into your world quite a bit. 14, 12, and 10 girls all doing competitive dance. Your weekends are shot. Like, I already know that game. And it's like, so it probably wasn't necessarily, we have these visions, what our life's going to be. And it's going to be, I'm playing golf every Sunday. Look, that's that in that season of life, once the girls are done, perhaps. But right now, I know what that schedule looks like, man. You are going hard. You like an Uber driver right now, your wife and you, I'm sure. But you know what? That's life. That's harmony. That's what's happening right now. Embrace all of it. And I think so often we just went through this. My wife and I were talking about this. Our 16-year-old now drives. And I remember for years, my wife would, kind of complain a little about being a underpaid Uber driver for my son, blah, blah, blah. And now, you know what she's complaining about? Not having time with him in the car. And so
Mm,
it's one of those things, Josh, where it's, one thing you didn't ask the question, but I guess what I want people to hear is enjoy every moment of it, be present with it, because I promise you, whatever is driving you crazy in this moment, next year, you probably do anything to have that time back. And yet it's just funny how we get so caught up in having it perfect, having it look a certain way. Well, that's just not the way it works, man. So I think that word harmony is just, find harmony in your life and go with it.
yeah, you're absolutely right. You brought up the golf thing before I get to my first question. Um, so I'm at the farm today, but I live on the fifth hole of our country club. I have my own golf cart in the garage. I played 5 rounds this summer. Completely wasted my membership this year. No, you're in Florida. You have more of a season than we do up here in Wisconsin. But 5 times that was it, because we're just in that busy season between work and family stuff. So, well, let's hop into this. You've spent over 20 years building winning cultures and elite teams. What originally sparked your passion for leadership and performance coaching?
That's a good question, man. I think what I figured out early is my first entrepreneurial venture. I figured out really fast what I was good at and what I wasn't. And what I was really good at was building teams. I played college basketball, I played sports all growing up. Like, I love teams. Now, I will also tell you, I was a far better swimmer. I mean, when hindsight, if I was my parents and I look at the full ride scholarships I had to every school in swimming, and yet I chose this silly game of basketball after blowing out my knee twice in high school. The point was, I love teams. And so I just kind of rolled that into what I do professionally, that I like having cohesive teams that have this winning culture. And I remember when I got hired in the financial service world, I didn't know anything about financial services. I really still don't, truth be told. But what I do know is I know, like, all right, if we create good teams and we create distribution, ultimately, that was powerful. And so that's really where it started. The mindset side of things and all the additional personal development and reading. I was just, I was blessed by my sister. She gave me a great book. back in college after I blew out my knee for the last time, and I'm studying abroad, and I started just getting into personal development. And so I think at all of those experiences, that just led me into what I do today in the professional world. And I just found, Josh, for me, I want to do what I love doing. I may or may not be good at it, but I love it. And eventually I'll get better at it. And so, yeah, man, that's just kind of taken me down this path of building teams, culture, sales is something I'm passionate about. And so I guess I hope that answers your question, but it was
No, it
really,
does.
back my experiences.
And it actually leads me into my next question as well. So you did a good job there. But just a little caveat, anything you want to know in the financial service world, I was in that world for 20 years, owned a large firm. And it's funny, being 4 years removed from it, I can't forget it. I literally can't forget my phoning language from when I was a new advisor. I can still spit that out. I haven't done it in over 15 years, as far as like an actual application, but I can't forget it. So anything you ever want to know or chat about there, I got your back. All right.
Love it.
So for those who don't know you, how do you describe the mission behind Let's Go Win? And I think you started leading into this and your win from within philosophy.
Yeah, I actually wrote the first book. That's how I even got into this. I sold my third IMO, is what it was called in the financial world. I sold that, and I wrote my first book for our two sons. We have 19 and 16-year-old sons, called Let's Go Win: Keys to Living Your Best Life. And the whole reason I wrote the book is literally for these two human beings that are my and my wife's everything. I mean, they truly, the sun rises and falls with these kids. They've just filled us up so much. But the whole idea is I wanted to inspire them to live their best lives. And I would have left it at that, Josh. I would have been done. But the gal I was working with said, "Man, you are selfish." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "If you only share that book with two people, you are selfish." And I was like, "Fair, I hear you." So I ended up actually publishing the book, and it's taken me down this path of talking about, inspiring people to live their best life. And it's funny, as you mentioned, you could still rattle off these financial service things. I noticed I was in Napa last week, wine tasting with friends, and I couldn't help myself but talk about some of these biohacking things that I do, and some of this, like, read this book, and here's how it impacted my life. That's just second nature to who I am. And it all started with wanting my kids to have some of these philosophies that I learned from authors and mentors and my parents through the years, so that they could live their best life and maybe not skin their knees as many times as I did.
And that's awesome. Your story about your book is similar to mine about why I started the podcast. My marketing guy, when I ran the financial firm, had all the right reasons from a marketing perspective to start a podcast, and I was like, "Oh, that's well and good, but I got to have a better reason than just marketing for me if I'm going to commit to doing this weekly podcast." And it was about my kids, that they would always have my voice if anything happened to me, because as you know, in the financial service world, we dealt with life and death, and that was something that was always on my mind. So this is kind of a legacy piece for me as well, is that hopefully in this digital age that it's not two generations and forgotten, but my great great grandkids would have my voice at some point, know my thoughts at this juncture in life. So I love that. And I'm also glad that you had a truth teller in your life say, "Hey, JM, this has got a lot more application than your kids. Get it out to the world." So that's awesome. You love to talk about authenticity in leadership. I love to talk about authenticity in leadership. What does leading with authenticity actually look like? I think people get this. Let me caveat or preface this. I think people get the word authenticity for the most part. They get it from a 30,000-foot view, is what I think they get. What does it look like in a daily practice, though?
Yeah, man, it's a huge question. And here's what I would say: I let people in. I didn't used to. So we're clear. The first company and a half that I built, I was buttoned up, suit and tie, wanted to look a certain way, sound a certain way. And we got results, but it was through sheer work ethic and just so much work. When I actually just started showing up as, like I mentioned off air, the kid from Montana that, I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy, when I showed up that way, just as here I am, good, bad, and different, here it all is. It was amazing, brother, when people would start to get behind you, or they'd leave, or they're like, this isn't my cup of tea, man, I'm out. That is exactly what I want in this life. I want to be able to show up, lift the kimono and be like, here it is, guys. This is who I am. This is what I got. And know that people are going to say, hey, I like this, or you know what, it's not for me. Because that's what I found when teams really excel, is when we don't have secrets that we're hiding. We don't have ulterior motives or agendas, but when we are truly authentically just being us, it's like, whoa, we can accomplish some big things. And there's this quote that I love, if you go behind that, and it's amazing what you can accomplish if nobody cares who gets the credit. And to me, look at the name of my company. It's called Let's Go Win. It's not called jmryerson.com. Well, it's called Let's Go Win for a reason. It's not about me. It's about this idea of showing up as the best version of you. So for me, that's being authentic. And for other people that, their company is their name, that's not a bad thing. That's authentically who you are. And I don't judge it one way or the other. I just want to show up as the Let's Go Win side of things. I want to just be me and know that I'm good with that. And no matter how it falls, that I get to show up as myself, and I don't have anything to hide.
I love that. I want to ask a kind of a selfish question, because it just came to mind as you were referencing the website. I struggled with this, and maybe a little bit still do. So I want you to speak to someone that may be thinking like me. So my website is joshkosnick.com, but that's not my company name. The struggle that I had was, because I've led big organization, my financial firm, I had 250 employees. Everything was about them. I still don't want anything to be necessarily about me. And yet, in this new venture, it is about me. I am the brand. And I've struggled with that. And so it's one of those things where I've had to get some coaching. And by the way, here's a little red flag or tip for anyone. If you're ever considering a coach that doesn't have a coach, immediately run away from that person.
Yes.
So my coach was like, Josh, at this juncture, it is about you as much as you don't want it to be. And so speak to how someone that like me that struggled with that over the last few years can wrap their mind around and still be authentically them, and not pushing away like I was trying to do.
Yeah, brother. It's and by the way, again, apparently we're living the same lives in just different areas. So I've had the same challenge. Let's take another guy from the financial service world, Ed Milet. Okay, huge. EdMilet.com. It's huge. It's a huge brand, right? And he does also max out. So it's like you have Spartan and you have Josh Kosnick. Now, I will tell you, the smart thing is doing it by your name. You're going to grow faster. People absolutely relate more with a human being than they do a company. That's one of the challenges that I have realized, and I was told by every marketing firm. What I would share with both of us when we struggle with this ego, if you will, or it's not about me, make sure to share your gifts. So if Josh is the best thing for people to see, and he's the brand, then you know what? Own that, celebrate it, show it, and know that that's not coming from an egotistical place, but it's actually coming from a place of love and honoring other people. I struggled with that, hence, again, let's go win.com. And now I had to switch some of my social handles to JM Ryerson, because people don't relate to companies, they relate to that person. So it is one of those interesting things. And I think it's something that, what are you trying to, again, authentically show up as? You're a humble guy, man. You and I were talking off air. You can just tell you have this cool kind of humility about you. And so I assume that's how you show up to the world. And I assume that's how your audience resonates with you. But if you decided that you wanted to be somebody that was, I don't know, over the top, and then cool, authentically be that as well. But I think the point is, you said the word impact in the beginning of your intro. And every time I'm on a show with somebody that says that word, I know it's going to go great, because you are coming from a place of, I want to serve. I want to make the world a little bit better than how it was when I showed up. Whether it's Josh on the website or something else, you are showing up that way. And I think that is truly being authentic, regardless of what is on your website.
That's a great answer, and that's a lot of the feedback that I've received. Now I have a vision to build the company that it's not about me, but there's still a process to go through. And to back up what JM's saying here, Rory and AJ Vaden did a study on personal branding, and it was fascinating to see because unless you're a baby boomers still trust corporate over personal brand, but every generation below is leaning more and more to the personal brand than they are the corporate brand. So that's something to pay attention to in building your personal brand out there, regardless if you're the CEO or not. There's some capital there to be had. So let's switch topics to how you've helped companies double revenue while improving the team's well-being. What's the secret sauce that most leaders are overlooking?
It's going to be so simple. And I think that's the point of it. I literally do what's called the ACT sheet. That means align, commit, and teamwork, right? I used to call it the one sheet, but apparently my brand manager said, that's not exactly sexy enough, Jam. We need to call it the ACT sheet. Okay, cool. I'll go with that. And all it is literally getting companies. I just did it with my accounting firm, who, by the way, they're literally the best accounting firm, in my opinion, that I've ever worked with. I think they're incredible. But what they didn't have was clear expectations on exactly what the cultural values were. They had a good idea, right? The 5 executives I asked, and they were close, but they weren't 100% intentional about these are the, I coach on 3. So these are the 3 core cultural values of our company. Okay, cool. So we established that. Then we established, how do we behave? Because you and I were talking off air. I was originally born in Madison, raised in Montana. I have a different outlook than somebody that was, I don't know, raised in Hawaii or came from a different background. So being clear on how do we show up and behave, then what do we do? Why do we exist? And then what are our goals? And when we do that, when you get this one sheet or this ACT sheet put together, and everybody from the CEO to the most brand new employee have the exact same playbook right in front of them, well, guess what? Now we're rowing the boat in the same direction. And now we're starting to accomplish things much, much faster. And I'll have people go, seriously, James, that's it? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. That's the start of it anyway, because I believe it's my formula is the ABC formula. This is not mine. I'm sure I borrowed it along the way, but we're getting alignment. Then we're going to work on our beliefs or our mindset, and then we're going to choose to show up. And so the ACT sheet is part of the A. Then we start working on the mindset and the beliefs, and then we work on some tangible things like how to run a meeting properly, or what are we doing for ourselves so we show up as the best version of us. And when we do that collectively, oh brother, it's just so much fun, because people get to really take off with their company. And it's like, that was it, Jam? I'm like, yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's so good. And you're so right. Because of the simplicity of it, people can buy into it. And that's the start of it. And the teams that have more cohesion have more fun. And frankly, to your company name, Let's Go Win. I first heard this from Ed Milet, and I'm sure he got it from someone else or whatever. But bottom line, the quote is teams that, or he says that winning is more fun than fun is fun. And so the teams win, they have a more fun culture as a byproduct of it. A constantly losing team, it's not so fun. Like my good friend Joe Thomas, who Hall of Fame lineman from the Cleveland Browns, he was on one winning team his entire career, his rookie season, and he set the NFL record snaps in a row record by remaining moderately healthy enough to play, and played for 10 straight seasons before his retirement on a losing team. That wasn't that much fun. He'll tell you that, but he absolutely loved the culture there, loved the teammates, loved the fans, and loved the game of football enough to continue showing up. There's not a lot of players that like to play in Cleveland when they're losing over and over and over again. So he's a great example of that.
I mean, we were talking off air about our own football teams and culture, this word that sometimes people are like, it's so overused. It's really not, man. Let's take your Bears, for example. You know this very well. Since the 85 Ditka Bears, it has been a really long haul. Now, you had a snippet, like you said, Lovie Smith came in. You guys made it. I think Rex Grossman at some point was your quarterback. You all went to a
Yeah.
Super Bowl. But by and large, it's been a rough go for you guys for
Yeah.
40 years, right?
Yeah.
Versus, we're talking, I'm a Packer fan, and we've had three incredible, in my opinion, they'll probably all be Hall of Famers, these quarterbacks. But it really did come down to the culture and the organization, right? It is a winning culture. It's a losing culture. The Browns have been terrible since even before the Bears. I mean, they were going back. They've been bad for a long time. Well, that's systemic because the culture starts at the ownership group. And what are they purveying? I.e., what are we talking about on a daily basis? What are our expectations? Our organizations and business aren't any different. Are you talking about having a winning mindset, growth mindset, really showing up from a place of love and not ego? Or is it all about, signing the prima donna and bringing in people that aren't necessarily a good fit, but they have great, like Deshaun Watson for those Browns, man, that was like the worst contract ever for a guy with a, checkered past. It's
Yep.
like, let's stop and think, what do we stand for? And then you don't have those problems. But by the way, football teams that's visible. We all can talk about that. Your organization is not that much different. What are you talking about on a daily basis? What is the culture of your company?
Yeah, and what do you want it to be? And that's the thing. Well, a funny story for you. Last fall, I was in Chicago for the Packers Bears game, and I ran into George McCaskey in the tailgate parking lot, and I said, "Please sell the team." He didn't like that comment. He walked away. But you're right. It's systemic, and it comes from the top, right? Last year was a mess, so I'm sure he understood the fans' frustration at the very least, and this year it's looking up. So, all right. On this culture thing, what are some non-negotiable habits you see in elite performers or elite companies across industries?
Yeah. Gosh, that's such a good question. The non-negotiables, although it is individual, I will say that, everybody has theirs and whether they've clearly defined it. For most, the non-negotiables are, let's say, integrity. That's just one of those things, like that's a permission to play. You don't get to show up and not be truthful. Like you own it, right? The victim versus victor mentality, that's another one I see with high performers. They don't put up with victim mindset. They're like, no, dude, like I don't want it around me. That's not a part of what I believe in. And every high performer that I've seen, they believe that it's on them, right? They're not a victim. They go through the same circumstances as anyone else. They went through the crash in the early 2000s to the 2008 to the pandemic. And guess what? They're still performing at a high level versus other people that literally get stuck in, let me tell you what happened to me. So I think when I look at it, the two that stand out the most, one, have a growth mindset. I have not met a high performer that doesn't believe in it. They believe I might not be that good right now, but I will get that. I will get there. And then they don't believe in being a victim. They believe in being a victor, in taking full responsibility, owning that. And so I look at that every single day. In fact, it's in my bathroom mirror. I look at, are you a victim or are you a victor? I ask the question every single day. Do you have a growth mindset in every single moment? And the answer, by the way, is no. Sometimes I do have a fixed mindset and I have to catch myself and be like, no, dude, you might not be good at technology. That's the one I fall on all the time. I'm like, I'm not that good at technology. Well, truth is, I'm just not willing to even put in the work in this side because I have incredible people around me that are taking care of the technology piece. But I think those are the two non-negotiables that I talk about and I coach on the most.
I love it. A lot of my teams that I work with will adopt the Jocko Willink terminology of extreme ownership. because that's what they're trying to breed in their people. And I completely, it's one of my favorite core values when a team truly has it, because they're breeding that from the top down, that they're not going to fall into that victim mindset, that they're going to own every piece of it, even if it wasn't their fault, because they got a job to do and make sure that it's right for their customers, their clients, whoever it may be. So that's awesome.
Yeah, Leaf and Jocko crushed that book, man. I truly, I think that's one that everybody should read at some point. I'm sure that your teams have. It's just they did such an incredible job with that book, because it's life or death in their world, right? It's not like, oh, we messed up, so we're gonna have a bad quarter. No, we messed up, and we lost people. That's why the book Extreme Ownership, in that military, you have to have that. But imagine if we took that into our own lives and into our own companies.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for those that haven't read the book, why they completely crushed it, I think, is they didn't just share the military application, because some people may not resonate with that. But whatever the lesson was, they also shared a business application based on their experience of coaching companies and leadership teams. So you get both sides of it. And for those of you that are fascinated by military stories, there's phenomenal stories in there. And then you have the business application. I couldn't agree more. They crushed that book. And then the follow-up one, I think, was as good or even better, The Dichotomy of Leadership. So high performers, we often find fight is the word I'm looking for there, burnout,
Mm.
right? So this word burnout keeps coming up. What practices do you recommend to build sustainable performance instead of stress-driven output?
Huge question. I ask every single high performer I meet with, what'd you do for yourself today? And
Mm,
unfortunately, Josh, I get a lot of, stuff back talking about the company, the kids, the house, the car, all the stuff, all the responsibility. And the question again is, what did you do for you? Now, to answer your question directly, my opinion, the number one thing you can do to overcome anything burnout related, find a pen and a piece of paper and just write. And people, again, are probably going to be like, really? It's that simple? Yeah, man, it truly is that simple. Journaling to me is God's greatest gift. It's the freest therapy you can find. And then people go, well, I don't know what to write. Well, just start writing. There's no judgment. That's just for you. So that's one thing. I'm a huge fan of meditation, cold plunge, breath work, yoga, all that. But I would say, if we were to just boil it down to one answer, like if you're burnt the heck out, grab some pen and paper and just write, because now you're at least taking it out of your head and dumping it somewhere else. And now we can
releasing
do
it.
something with it. What's that? I'm sorry.
I was saying release it. Yeah.
Correct, right? Brain dump, release it. Because when it's inside, here's the challenge with our brains. They are incredibly creative. They're also incredibly destructive. And if we don't dump this, if we just have it all going up in there, well, guess what? You're going to drive yourself crazy. You're going to drive your spouse crazy, because you're going to it's like the hamster on a treadmill. It's like you're just going and going and going. But when you dump it out onto paper, now you can start to see more clearly. Now, the next meditation you do, it's going to be that much more profound and clear, and you'll have some true guidance of where you're going. So for me, that is the number one thing. Of course, you should go work out. Of course, you should, spend time with your family and all of these things. But if there's one tip, if there's only one, just journal.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating about that advice is so we haven't talked about this yet, you and I, but my sale of my company wasn't a happy sale. And I was going through the pits of despair. And my coach at the time asked me to journal. And I had never been against journaling. I just never took the time to do it. Is so I was like, wait, you just want me to write down all my shitty thoughts? And he's like, well, yeah, kind of. He goes, let me put it to you this way. You will never have these exact emotions ever again. So capture them.
Mm.
And I can tell everyone listening that JM's advice is very therapeutic. And I actually have dubbed that now my pain journal. And I look back at on times and see, and feel about what I've overcome. And it's a fascinating exercise for those that have never done it. how beneficial it actually is. And so I completely co-stamp that advice. Now, I always ask this question, the audience, you don't know this, but I ask this question of people that I ask on the show that I don't know well. And I always ask them the question, what's something you don't get to talk about enough that you love talking about? And you've brought it up a couple times already in the biohacking space. You've said you love to talk about it. And you've also brought up a few just kind of flippantly here, but what are a few of your favorite biohacks and maybe the ones that have had the biggest impact on your leadership?
So cold plunging I just got to go there initially because I do it every single day. I absolutely love it. Now, when I say love, so we're clear, I don't care how many times I've done it. I don't know how many thousands of times at this point. Every time I get in, it sucks. The first 30
Yeah.
seconds sucks. All right. Let's not make it sound like it's sunshine and rainbows. Like, no, dude, 30 seconds. It's horrible. The next 3 minutes are complete bliss. And so that's the thing, because I hear people all the time, oh, dude, that sounds miserable. I don't want a cold plunge. I get it. Neither do I. It's exactly why I want to do it, first off. And then it becomes very euphoric. So that's one. Qigong, which is, basically all it means is energy practice. That's all Qigong means. People are like, what is this weird word? Qi is energy and gong is practice. So your energy practice. I do 7 minutes every single day. It's 7 different moves. And if I don't work out that day, I already had, by having that 7 minutes done, you will literally get a little sweat going just doing that simple thing. And I don't know, one more that I like, the vibration plate. I like saunas. Saunas take too long for me, unfortunately. So I only do that a couple times a week. But those are some of my favorite. I don't know, brother. Are you into biohacking? Is that something
Yep.
that you enjoy?
Yeah, so I completely co-stamp the cold plunge. I think the only person that really gets their rocks off on cold plunging is Wim Hof. He doesn't look like it phases him the first 30 seconds. I'm in the same boat as JM. First 30 seconds sucks, and after that, it's amazing, and especially how you feel afterwards. Um, Red light therapy, I do
Mm.
a couple times a week after my workouts. And again, that, I'm standing, it's not a lay down bed, standing for 10 minutes, kind of boring, like, but I know the benefits that come after that. Wim Hof breathing exercises are something I've done for years and years and years. And in between on the breath holds, I'll do some intentional stuff. So I'll pray. I will do some vision casting, and yeah, so one of the there's two prayers actually. One's on gratitude and one's more forward thinking and vision casting while I'm holding my breath. So I kind of really get that, and that's how I start most of my mornings, is to make sure that I'm getting God in my head before I get in my head, and I'm also making sure that I'm mentally ready for battle for the day.
Yeah, it's so good. And, for those not familiar, Wim Hof, he's talking at least a minute breath hold, then another minute and a half, then another minute and a half is one of his most popular ones. And it is, that's such a great time to meditate or to be clear, go through gratitude. So, yeah, man, I didn't mention breath work, but 100%, whether it's Wim or it's, I've been doing a lot of dynamic breath work recently. That I just, anything to really engage the body straight away. It's just, look, I don't want to be, I remember having a picture of 40-year-olds when I was a kid, and that was old. Well, dude, I'm 47 now. And I'm like, no, at 65, at 70, at 80, I want to be really moving and not, look, if I am like the 80-year-olds I used to know, I have no interest in that. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that when I am still going at, 47, now at 67, now at 87, I don't want to slow up. And I know Father Time will catch up. I do understand that, but I'm going to do everything in my power to combat it.
That's right. The goal with longevity work, with biohacking, is to live as long as possible, as healthy as possible. That's the whole goal. Why wouldn't anyone want to do that versus being run down, broken down, and destitute in a nursing home or hospice care because You didn't take care of yourself. You didn't put the proper nutrients in your body. You didn't do any of these other things. So I completely agree. Um, the other thing you talked about that you don't get to talk about as often as you would wish to is parenting.
Mm.
And I guess the question I have there is, what leadership lessons do you believe translate most powerfully into the home?
You know, it's as you know with parenting, it's a season too, right? Like my 16-year-old and I now we're buddies. Yes, I am still his dad, and if stuff hits the fan, guess what? I am absolutely there to whoop his ass if that's what it takes. But I feel when it comes to parenting, setting proper boundaries, right? Like you're a kid, you need to know that there's boundaries that you don't get to cross. And if you do, there are repercussions. And I don't, whether it's, spanking or it's taking their phone away, parents don't say you're going to do something and not do it. It's like the worst thing you can do in business is the worst thing you can do as a parent. Like if you say you're going to do something, follow through. It's pretty simple. And yet, I watch parents all the time. They want to be their kid friend. They want to be their friend. And I'm like, okay, I understand, but what a disservice that you're doing to this child. Especially like I was having this conversation the other day, the whole blue ribbon syndrome where everybody gets a medal. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's horseshit, man. Like, that's not the way life works. Why do we want to celebrate mediocrity? Now, I will say, if my kid comes, he's a tennis player. He loses more than he wins. That's just a part of tennis. I will never, ever give him a hard time unless he didn't put forth the effort. I am all about putting forth. If you put forth the effort, I will applaud you, and we'll talk about constructively what you could have done so that you ended up winning that match versus losing. But if you truly gave it your all, and I mean great attitude, great effort, and you just got beat, well, fine. Tip your cap and say, congrats. I learned something today. It won't happen again. I'll give a better effort the next time. Or, I'll perform a little better the next time. But it's interesting. So when it comes to parenting, I guess to keep it concise is, do what you say you're going to do and show the same amount of respect. I hate this one. Do it because I told you to, because I'm your dad. Bullshit, man. Talk to them. They're smart people. Like, this is why we're going to bed at 10 o'clock, because you have to wake up. Kids need X amount of sleep. They're not stupid. Just talk to them and they'll be pretty respectful back. But yeah, man, parenting, I love, love, love spending time with my kids and watching them grow and change and even challenge me, right? That's fun. And it's truly the greatest gift I think I've ever had is just being able to be a dad.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many applicable things, leading employees, leading your kids, that translate both ways. The thing you keyed on, I see way too many parents fall into that trap nowadays where their kid does nothing wrong. It's always someone else's fault. They deserve a trophy. They deserve starting time. That's not, like you just said, that is not how the world works. And if you prepare them like that, they're going to fail in the real world when you're not there to protect them, when you're not there to snowplow all their problems out of their way. They're constantly going to be reliant on you. And there's things in life that happen that you can't control, that you can't, like right now, you may be able to push a teacher to get to you what you want them to do. You may be able to do that. You're not going to be able to do that with your kid's boss when they're 23 years old getting their first job, right? So you got to equip them for life, real life, not the sheltered life under your roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I so agree with brother. It's such a disservice to these kids, and I see entitlement all the time, and it just drives me bananas. It's like, and the funny thing, I don't know about you, but if you ever go and let's say it's one of your good friends, their kids, and they're not being disciplined, if you ever discipline for them, you will see kids typically they want and need that discipline. I'm not saying to be a tyrant. I'm just saying, like, when they step out, don't be afraid to speak up and be like, nah, we're not doing that. That's not cool.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that. So
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, this is a really small example, but last night my 10-year-old had a friend over, and they're just playing, and she screamed a couple times, and I was like, "Hey, screaming's for outside, not in my house." She stopped.
Yep.
It was just it wasn't disrespectful, it wasn't a bad they weren't being bad by any means, but for me being ADD, I get overstimulated. Got home from, my workout, and it was noisy, and then those high-pitched screams from little girls, like, it was setting me over the edge. I'm like, "Hey," my kids know this, but, like, "Hey, no screaming in the house, that's for outside."
And
It's cold outside
they
here in
probably
Wisconsin.
immediately stopped, right? Like, yeah,
She
that
stopped.
I respect you. Josh, I didn't know that. I didn't even realize because I was happy. Okay, great. I won't do it. I'll
Yeah,
go outside if I need to scream. So
yeah.
good.
Yeah, and she didn't get upset or cry. I wasn't yelling at her. It was just a simple correction. So that's really good. Um, think about this on the entrepreneurship side. You've built a couple great businesses, and you coach people all the time. I'm just thinking about entrepreneurship is so hard in general. What's the hardest leadership lesson you've learned as a founder?
To be vulnerable. I guess we talked about it earlier, but I think there was I wasn't taught to be vulnerable. Let's be clear. I was taught boys don't cry. Now,
Yeah,
it's a
same.
terrible lesson. I actually, and again, for those that know my background, I lost my dad to suicide. So imagine I was taught from him, boys don't cry. That's what he was taught from his dad, boys don't cry. And so instead, we're just going to bottle all that up. We're not going to talk about it. Well, that's terrible advice. And maybe, I'm not saying it would for sure, but maybe if my dad felt more comfortable to talk about his emotions, we wouldn't be at the place we're at today, right? Maybe. And so for me, I've looked at that whenever I'm dealing with employees, I want to be truly open and vulnerable and honest with them. And here's my best example, Josh. I've never met an employee that wants to be the worst. I haven't met somebody that's like, I'm going to suck at my job. I haven't met one that says that. Now, I've seen employees suck at their job. I've seen the worst, but they didn't start that way. They got to that way because of the culture of the company, because they lost belief in senior leadership, or maybe they didn't get what I call EPR, encourage, praise, and recognition. Maybe nobody said, Josh, you're doing an awesome job as a podcast host, man. I think you're absolutely killing it, and mean it. That cost me nothing. And yet for my company, the dividends are absolutely incalculable. For me to take 2 seconds and just say, you know what, man, I appreciate the job you're doing. I think you did an awesome job. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel like what they do matters. And so for me, I had to kind of get rid of some of the things I was taught and realize, like, wait, saying good job to people is a good thing. Letting them know it's okay to not be okay. Taking them aside and, hey, are you okay? Not as the person at the job right now. Are you okay as a human being? And when I did that, it was amazing, man. My whole team just opened up. And it's not all about coming in and bringing your problems to work. That's not the point. But if you have those challenges, let's get you the tools you need so that you can show up as the best version of you instead of this half-ass version that I'm getting right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm so sorry to hear about your dad.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean it's awful, and yet it's awful. I want him back every single day, and yet I've learned so many lessons because of it, and it gives me that inspiration to make sure that other families don't ever deal with it, and hence why I do what I do as passionately as I do every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another similarity we have, unfortunately. It wasn't my father, but it was my father-in-law,
Mm.
and, we miss him every day. Holidays, I know, are coming up for both of us, and holidays can be tougher on the family when you've lost a loved one, and, so, yeah, my wife and I were last night, thinking about that, a little bit more, and the anniversary of his passing is our daddy-daughter dance,
Mm.
come up in February, and, it's, just fascinating timing, it's my last one with my 8th grader. I was thinking about this last night, getting emotional. Um, And the only one I missed with her was the night or the day after Tom's suicide. And so I get to have that last one with her coming up here in February. But yeah, it's a grief. I know you would share the same sentiments that you would wish upon no one else.
Yeah, it's for sure. We're part of a club, right, that no one wants to be a part of. And it affects so many, as you said, not just your wife, but your kids, obviously your mother-in-law, your parents. I mean, it just affects so many people. And the challenge is it just doesn't have to happen. And I think that's why talking about it, that's why I talk about it. I want people to not be ashamed that my head's broken. If your arm's broken, you go to the doctor. Let's get it fixed.
Yeah.
So love to you and your family, brother. Enjoy and embrace the heck out of that daddy-daughter dance, and just know to all your family, I'm sending lots of love.
Yeah, same back at yours. Hey, before I ask my closing question, where can everyone follow you?
Yeah, thank you, brother. Let's Go Win. If you look up Let's Go Win, it's going to be me. Let's Go Win 365 on virtually every platform. You mentioned YouTube earlier. Guys, he's doing a great job. He's bringing a lot of good stuff. Please go to YouTube, right? This is a good tax write, essentially, these podcasts, but
Sure
help
is.
him out. Yeah. Like, help Josh out. Go to YouTube and follow. And I'd ask you to do the same. I'd love to continue to grow our channel so we can continue more impact. So thank you, Josh, for
Yeah.
letting.
You got it. Last question I always ask everyone is, what's an unpopular belief you hold to be true that you think most others disagree with?
Oh man, there's so many. I truly think, in this political climate we're in today, I truly think people can reach across the aisle. And I don't care where you stand. I don't care if you are far left or you're far right. Why can't we disagree and talk to one another and respect one another? I respect the fact that I completely disagree with you, and I still respect you as a human being. I think so much. I was having this conversation. He's my best friend in the world, and we are polar opposites on so many political issues. But yet I feel like I respect him as a man, and I respect, what he has to stand for. It doesn't mean I agree with it. And I hope, brother, I so hope. I saw 2 congressmen, I think it was, that were talking about, it was 2 governors of different states. One was Republican and one was Democrat. And they were like, and by the way, I like that guy. I want more of that in this world because, brother, I believe in winning. We're not going to win by pointing fingers.
That's right.
That doesn't solve anything. So I just hope there's more open dialogue. So I don't know how unpopular. I know it's really unpopular with people that I disagree with, but I want them to know I'm open to it, man. I don't know all the answers. I certainly could be educated on things, but I'm willing to have the conversation.
Yeah, I love it. And here's my unpopular belief, which I have a lot as well. I think that's the reason Charlie was killed, because he was the very best at bringing people together and having respectful political discourse.
So
I may
true.
be right, I may be wrong, but that's my current unpopular belief about the situation. But man, this has been such a rich conversation. Spartan audience, you know what to do. Go share. I don't even have to tell you this time. Like, go share this episode far and wide. JM dropped some absolute wisdom on all of us today. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.
This is Sparta!